Um, I thought we could possibly do this live. My thoughts on the past few days. Well, we did an all-nighter, myself and Adam, where we went all the way to Thurso. And we did a grand total, well for me, I did a grand total of 650 miles in less than 48 hours, which to some people is an awful lot, to some people it's nothing. Depends on what mode of transport you're using. But take 88 miles off that in total for Aaron, so that was 572 that he did. I worked all this out using Google Maps and all that stuff. What actually happened on E7? If I would rather not mention that, mate, to be honest, if that's okay, because driver was saying something personal about me and my appearance. That's all I'm going to say about it. It was about my appearance, and I took it personally. So anyway, my thoughts on this were, I left here yesterday morning about 8:15, caught the 23 up to Kinross, no problem at all. Then got the E1 all the way to Aberdeen. Aaron joined us at Dundee, all went well. When we reached Aberdeen, we terminated at Bridge of Dawn in this car park, which was starting to get a bit overgrown with weeds and all that, and there was a waiting room which wasn't the cleanest, if I'm being honest. The toilets in there were completely fine, but the waiting room itself was a bit dirty, a bit grubby. Could have been done with a hoovering, and the seats could have been done with a clean. A message that's been held for a review. Okay, let's have a look. Yeah, the driver probably one of those idiots who hate being recorded and think it's a crime. No, it wasn't to do with the filming or anything like that. It was nothing to do with that at all. Nothing to do with that at all, mate. I've rescheduled the E7 for next Monday, and that means I'm going to have to go back up to Inverness again and do that to Aberdeen. But I'm thinking about moving it to Tuesday, but I promise I will keep you posted. Commenting on someone's appearance is wrong. I totally agree. Totally agree. But when we got to Aberdeen, Bridge of Dawn waiting room, I wasn't overly impressed with the waiting room. I thought I could be doing the hoovering and a good clean. And there was like reminiscences that someone had been there having a good time. Drinking, that is, because there was some empty alcohol containers lying around. So anyway, we got on the E7, sorry, I was still getting E6 and E7 mixed up. We boarded the E7 to Inverness, all was fine. I've got all of that on film. I haven't edited or uploaded it yet, but I'm editing it as we speak right now. Obviously not now when I'm doing this live. And when we arrived in Inverness, I was actually glad to get off the coach, to be honest, to stretch my legs. Because going that way on a coach was quite a long journey, let's say. Yeah, waiting rooms suck, especially with drunks going around. Well, there was no drunks there when we arrived. But there have been some empty Buckfast containers. Other alcoholic drinks are available, obviously. And when we arrived in Inverness, I thought, okay, we've got a little while to pass. We've got a little bit of time to pass before the E6 to Thurso, or Scabster, where it terminates at the ferry terminal. So we decided to go to Wetherspoons and get something to eat. And the Wetherspoons in Inverness was really good. I would highly recommend it. Only downside was the Wi-Fi was a bit slow, because I was trying to do some YouTube stuff while having dinner with Aaron. And I think Aaron was trying to do some stuff for his channel. while we were having dinner as well, because I didn't think the Wi-Fi on the coaches would cope with doing stuff like that. But Wetherspoon's Wi-Fi in Inverness wasn't the quickest. But at least I was able to get a 5G signal in there, so I could check what I was needing to do using phone data, which is more than can be said in other Wetherspoons that I've been to. So we decided to drink up on coffee because I knew it was going to be a long, long night. On my third cup of coffee, I had a mocha, and I decided to sprinkle some chocolate powder over it. And I just finished drinking it, and I was probably on the last gulp, or last swallow, as I would say. And hey, Freon, how you doing, mate? Just noticed your message there, bro. Sorry about that. We're just talking about, I'm just giving a review of how things went on the all-nighter that myself and Aaron did on Monday night there. Some of the footage has been uploaded, not all of it has, but all of it will be online later today. So I'm just having a look. Yes, I see Zeta's message there. I'm putting you in timeout. Hide user from the channel. And you know what? You're going in timeout. There you go. Try saying stuff now. Haha. Yeah. It just goes to show that if someone says something that they shouldn't, or is deemed offensive to anyone, or could be offensive to myself or anyone, I will put them in timeout. Air is looking nice and warm today, so make sure to come down well. After travelling all the distance that I've done yesterday, mate, I think I'm going to skip that today. And I've got a few appointments on this afternoon anyway, so thank you for the invite, mate. Appreciate that, but I'm gonna pass on that. So anyway, as I was saying, as we got to Inverness, the only thing about it was when I took the last drink of mocha coffee, there was a bit of plastic in the cup, and I thought, what's that all about? And I didn't actually realise it was a bit of plastic off the container from the chocolate powder. I said to Aaron, I said, oh, just leave that, just ignore it. And he said, no, I think you should mention that to the bar. And I thought, okay. So I went up to the bar and spoke to the manager, and she said, I'm ever so sorry about all that. And she said to me, we'll give you a refund for the coffee. I thought, okay. So after that, I went into the local co-op, bought a large bottle of Pepsi Max and some bananas. Bananas, I'll explain. Bananas release energy slowly, so I thought releasing energy slowly means I'll stay awake longer. So we got on the E6, went all the way up to Thurso, and we got stuck in a traffic jam. I can't remember exactly where, but it was about 20 miles south of Thurso. And near a place called Humster, if that makes sense. That's pretty close to where the Rumster Forest TV radio mast is. If, like me, you know where TV radio transmitters are, because I work in the radio trade, obviously. And when we arrived in Thurso, Aaron and I were discussing if we were going to get off there or at Scrabster, and I said, let's just get off at the fare terminal. So the driver said to us, since you're making a YouTube video, I'll take you to the fare terminal and then I'll drop you off halfway back into Thurso. And I thought, okay, that's very nice, thank you. So we had a little walk around, and I did a live stream at the train station in Thurso, which is the most northerly train station in the UK. And there was something eerie about that place at night time. It was spooky. I'm not easily spooked, neither's Aaron. But I don't believe in ghosts, personally. But there was something a bit strange about it. There was like this piece of audio kept playing, and it sounded really, really low pitched and very slow playing. And I couldn't see where it was coming from. And after a little while, I did a live stream up there as well, so there there's a live stream on the channel to prove what was going on. I was using the mics. I'm not using the mics at the moment, but I was up there at the time, and we just couldn't figure out where it was coming from. So we decided to get out of there. We just ended up walking down to the ferry terminal because there was nothing else to do, you know. But I mean, in Thurso, over 250 miles from home, at 20 past 11 at night, what did we expect? We didn't expect anything. So we went down to the ferry terminal and it was pouring with rain, so we both got soaked. I did promise I was going to do another live stream after that, but I didn't, and I apologise for that because it was just too wet and neither of us were really in the mood. So when we arrived at the ferry terminal, we stood there for about 2.5 hours just chatting. There was nowhere where we could get shelter apart from the entrance to the waiting room. Obviously the waiting room was closed because Northlink Ferries and Ember are obviously two different organisations. But I thought there would have been a shelter of some sort up there where we could at least get shelter from the rain. The only shelter we could get was behind an electricity charging point for electric vehicles. And I thought, no, I'm not waiting in there. So anyway, you can imagine our relief when we saw the coach coming at 3:45 in the morning. And of course, I was fighting sleep deprivation and trying my hardest not to fall asleep on the way back to Inverness. I hadn't fell asleep for about, I think it must have been at least an hour. And when we got to Inverness, he was pretty much awake, whereas I was like, Thing was, says I'm knackered too. Yeah, well, you can imagine how I felt when I got home last night. So anyway, I'll get to that point in just a moment. Sorry, this review's kind of dragging out a little bit, but it was quite a long collaboration, and there's quite a few lengthy videos to upload, which I will be uploading later today. And when we got back into Inverness, we went to get breakfast again at Wetherspoons because it was the closest place, and we knew that we could get top-ups on our coffee. And all was going well until obviously we boarded the E7 to Inverness, and it was outside a takeaway place in Nairn. I think it was the bus station, because I don't really know Nairn that well. And that was when driver spoke to me in what I thought was a rather personal way. I'm not going to go into too much detail about it. The fact it was about my appearance, and that's all I'm willing to say. Anyway, thing is, I might see you at the weekend at the Scottish Vintage Bus Museum. I will certainly be there, Saturday and Sunday, mate. I can't live stream up there though, because unfortunately there's no 5G signal. And in some parts of the museum, my phone does not get any signal whatsoever. So I will just be doing recorded videos and uploading them in the evenings, I'm afraid. That's the best I can do. Anyway, messages held for review. Some messages I've got held for review, I've got my settings set to that, so let's have a look. Yeah, signal is poor. Yeah, okay, we can show that. The signal is pretty poor up there, if I'm being honest. That's true. But yep, after that, I went and took a seat up the rear of the coach. I thought, I don't want to be down the front where the driver is after what he said. And Aaron joined me. And we discussed it. And that's all I'm going to say about it, because I'm dealing with it internally, personally. I'm dealing with it personally at the moment. When we arrived in Aberdeen, we went back into the same, well, Aaron went into the same waiting room because of the cleanliness of it the day before. I sat outside and I just contemplated on what was going on. And on the E1 the E1 back home, I think Aaron and I both fell asleep. because he sat on the shaded side of the coach. Maybe me chose the sunnier side, didn't I? Of course I did. And I fell asleep for, I reckon, at least half an hour to 40 minutes. And the driver on that one was absolutely fine. And when we arrived in Dundee, we obviously said our cheerios. I said to the driver, I'm sorry if anyone heard me snoring, because I will admit I do snore. And the driver was like, no, you're absolutely fine, mate. Absolutely fine. I didn't hear a single thing. I think he might have just been saying that, but I don't know. But when I got back to Kinross, I thought, here at last. So I popped into Sainsbury's, got something for my dinner. And the 23 back to Tillicountry with the AC on was lovely. Absolutely lovely. So when I got home, I went for a lie down in bed about 5:15, intending to wake up about 6 o'clock. I woke up at 9:05. So that must have been how tired I was. Anyway, would I do an all-nighter again? Absolutely. Would love to. Rick says hi. How you doing, mate? Hope you're doing all right. And yeah, I certainly would do it again, for sure. And I'm thinking about doing another one where I'm going to do I'm actually going to be doing night routes on this channel now. I've changed my mind. I know I said I don't accept requests for school journeys and routes that have the letter N, like night journeys beside them. I've changed my mind on that. I'm going to accept journeys with the letter N beside them. I'm going to accept those. Because Kieran says hi, hope you're doing alright. I'm going to do the Nighthawk services around Edinburgh, Glasgow and Aberdeen. Why not? Because Aaron's put me in the mood for doing Nighthawk journeys now. Can't do them night after night after night though. That's the only thing, because it would just be too tiring. I can maybe do 1 or 2 a month. That's about all. Thing is, why no school journeys? Well, it's obvious. It's obvious I can't do school journeys because young people on board. I'm not going to film that. Not a chance. Not a chance. And when I mean school journeys, I mean like ones that start and end at schools. I'm not doing those. Not a chance. So the next one coming up on the channel, I'm going to be doing a video on will be, what one is it I'm doing next? I think it's next week sometime. Someone requested the 73C from 9 miles to Arbroath, and myself and Aaron are just checking availability to see when we can do it. The request has been accepted and I'll do it. I'm thinking if I move the E7 to next Tuesday, because Aaron's working next Tuesday, and I'll be doing that one on my own, I could do 73C next Monday, possibly, but I'll keep you updated on that. Anyway, I've got an appointment very shortly indeed, so I shall talk to you later once editing is complete. So talk to you soon.